if you hold true to that causal principle that things must act according to their nature and that inanimate objects can't act apart from being acted upon, well, then you either have to have an infinite regress of inanimate objects going back forever into infinity, acting upon each other in succession, or you have to have a first animate object, a first animator, a first mover. Let's start with the cosmological argument. That's probably the most popular form of theistic argument. At least it's my personal favorite, if you want to use that terminology. I like it because it's simple, it's straightforward, and it deals with something that we are all very intimately familiar with, and that is causality. We all deal with causality every day of our lives, and we understand it, right? An object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon. That's sort of basic science. But you don't even have to use that terminology. You know that an inanimate object isn't going to move apart from something causing it to move. And you act on this all the time, as you should, because it's true. So the cosmological argument basically looks at reality, looks at that law of causality that things only move according to their natures, meaning inanimate objects don't move apart from being acted upon in some way. And it says, all right, well, if there were only inanimate things prior to humans existing, right? So let's say, sure, maybe the world existed prior to humans existing. I think most atheists would agree to that. What caused the world to be in the state that it was in, or the state that it's in now? Some prior state of affairs caused it. Well, what caused that? And you go on back and you realize that, okay, an inanimate object doesn't move apart from being acted upon. So something acted upon it. And it doesn't have to be that a person acted upon it. There are inanimate objects moving all the time because other inanimate objects act upon them. But you realize that if you hold true to that causal principle that things must act according to their nature and that inanimate objects can't act apart from being acted upon, well, then you either have to have an infinite regress of inanimate objects going back forever into infinity, acting upon each other in succession, or you have to have a first animate object, a first animator, a first mover. And so sometimes this argument is called the argument for the first mover. So really the question is it possible to have an infinite regress of that sort? And I think the obvious and honest answer is no. We're not just talking about a hypothetical infinite amount of stuff, right? That's logically possible. We're talking about an infinite sequence of one before the other. So it's not hypothetical. It's actual, meaning in the past, there were these things leading up to this present moment. And that would mean that if there was an infinite series leading up to this present moment, then that would mean that there was never a beginning in this causal series. But if there's no beginning of the causal series, then there's no causal series, right? We're not just talking about a quantity, a number of random things. We're talking about a logical chain that if it doesn't begin, then it doesn't exist. If there's no one, there's no 1,000,001. I mean, and there's other ways that you can get into that depending on how sophisticated the objectors want to get. But I think it's pretty clear, and I think most honest people, and I think most children can grasp that when they aren't trying to evade the fact that there's a God. And so you come to realize, okay, well, if there can't be an infinite regress, then there had to be a first animator, a first mover, a first cause that is not himself caused. And I say him because it would have to be a person. It would have to be the type of thing that can move of its own accord, the type of thing that has a will. And the type of thing that has a will has to have a mind. So we're talking about something which has a mind and a will. which wasn't caused by anything else, whose original action of causing everything, had no prior cause outside of itself. So we're talking about an all-powerful being who is personal, who has a will and a mind of his own, who caused everything to be in the state that it is today and forever in the past. You can go into a lot more on that topic to extrapolate what type of God this is, but at the very least, you can definitely say, okay, yes, that would be God, the person who began all action in the universe and who himself is not moved by anything else in the universe. That's God. And then the question is, all right, what else can we know about him?